Welcome to Fort Macleod, guys. Today I will show you Fort Macleod, located in Lethbridge, Alberta. Um, this is my project I did for my teacher. So, I tried to make Fort Macleod as best as I could from the picture that I took, and this would be the north end of Fort Macleod that I'm pointing to now. This would be the east end of Fort Macleod. This would be the south end of Fort Macleod, and this would be the west end of Fort Macleod. Um, so why don't we get started and I'll start showing you around. So this is all, so from that here to here is all the east end of Fort Macleod. We're going to start off here with room number 1. It's in the men's quarters, and it's located on the east end, of course. So this is where the men's quarters was located. This would be a higher ranked where men would stay because it is a separate building, and this is pretty much what the men's quarters would look like. Not too fancy, basic. They got a basic chimney and a fireplace, of course, and some cots. This would be room number 2, men's quarter east end, of course. Kind of the same as the room number 1, except that it is all one building. This would be room number 3. It is pretty basic as all the other ones that I showed you, and not too fancy. This would be the dining room, men's quarter east end. It's where they would all gather and eat together and hopefully get along. Now let's move on to the south end here. So this building right here and this little shack is all the south end. This would be the weapon shack, south end, where they would just store some weapons because this is a Northwest Mounted Police fort. This would be the shop, south end. And you see we got some goods here, the fireplace here, and behind the counters here. This would be the hospital. They call it a hospital, but to me it's not really a hospital because it is not that big. And so you can see we got a fireplace, some operation beds to do the operation, some operation kits so we can operate. And I imagine as a Northwest Mounted Police, they're pretty busy with all the wounds and stuff. Now we're going to move on to the west end. The west end is where the Mounties were. So we're going to start with room number 1, Mounties, west end. And it basically is the same thing as the men's quarters, which was located on the east end. But it is, of course, where the Mounties would stay. And it's got the basic fireplace. Room number 2 is the same. And then we got room number 3, Mounties, west end. And then 3 cots and the fireplace. And now we have the dining room, Mounties, west end. So we got our little 2 fireplaces here. Our table where they would gather and eat, of course. And yes, so this was the west end. Now I'm going to show you the north end. So this is where the stables were located on the north end. And the stables, of course, had some horses. I just built it pretty basic with the stables and some horses. This is where they would get their food and their horseshoes and all that. And yes, so there was stables and on the north end, and one other building on the north end, which is the blacksmith north end. This is a little chimney, and then the blacksmith, all his creations and stuff, which is pretty cool. Now I'm going to take you behind the scenes, where only the blacksmith was allowed. And this is where he would, the blacksmith would do his operations on his materials and create them into knives and all his stuff that he made. So this is a flagpole of Fort Macleod, and yeah, I think I have showed you all of Fort Macleod. Fort Macleod, it had a fence all around it because it was in Northwest Mountie Police, which I think is pretty cool. It's all kind of condensed together. And in the picture and the information I looked up, I also noticed that there was a whole bunch of trees on this end, so I thought I should do that. And this is for I have showed you Fort Macleod. I hope you liked it, and I hope I get a good grade. Okay. So before I turn you loose here, I just want to introduce to you to all my horses. Let's start off with Billy. This is Billy. He is very nice. His name is Billy. This is Sam. He's nice too. This is Ivan. He's very funny. He's my friend. Oh, don't eat the grass, Ivan. This is Raymart. He's a really good basketball player, same as Ivan. This is Chris, just a normal horse. This is Oscar. I named him that because my name starts with an O. And I hope you liked my Fort Macleod, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.